Yo, what is good, everyone? And thank you for checking back into the channel. As you do know, this is the Waterboy channel. As you do know, we will be talking football. And before we dive into any of that, welcome back and thank you. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel because we will be releasing a video, if not every day, almost every other day. So you will be up to date on all the latest NFL news and rumors. So, of course, you do not want to miss out on any of that. And if you haven't yet, or if you wait until later, you might as well do it now. Please give me that big thumbs up. Please like this video. But before you do that, let's just talk about what this video is going to be about. You know, football season like we're talking. So, fantasy football. It's one of the most funnest things you can do during football season. If you do it for fun, if you try to win money. So, we're going to be ranking every position, the top 10 best players of each. I might add a little extra in each one of maybe like honorable mentions, notable things like that. Or with the bigger cores, for example, like running backs and wide receivers, I might up that to 15 to 20 just because you have more of those on your fantasy teams, and we will get more in depth with that as well. But today, we're going to be talking about the ones that are slinging the rock. We will be going to the top 10 quarterbacks today. So, let's dive into it. So, before I jump into the top 10, like I said, I will have some honorable mentions to go before that. You know, people who I think can squeeze in, but just, I have 10 more better quarterbacks than that. And honestly, I guess I could call this one a disqualification because I don't know how this is going to end up, but people will still draft him just because. So, I'll mention him before I mention my honorable mention. And, of course, that should give away everything. Let's talk a little bit about Desean Watson. So, yes, if he plays football, he's not even a top 10 fantasy quarterback. He'll be a top 5 fantasy quarterback. He just puts up points. He gives you the yards. He gives you the touchdowns. But again, those allegations, we do not know where he will stand at, and we don't know how much he'll play, if he'll play. We don't know what team he'll play for, if it's with Houston, if it's with any other team in the league. So everything is just up in the air. So right now, I just disqualified him from my list, and I would disqualify him from my draft board unless you're drafting, let's say, closer to week 1 and maybe more things are solved out. But if you're drafting early August, or like right now it's mid-August, so if you're drafting like August 20th, that range, I wouldn't touch him because you don't know what you're getting with him, and it's just way too iffy. So I'm taking him off my board. A lot of people, you can still draft him if you get a really good late round pick. If you already have your quarterback, that's the only way I would do that. Let's say you have a Patrick Mahomes or a Justin Herbert or a Lamar Jackson, and you get him as your backup, good trade bait, or just a good backup in the future. But right now, I couldn't touch him to be my first pick my first quarterback pick, just because, again, I don't know where he is. Now, my next, and this will start my honorable mentions, but it's my only honorable mention just because I didn't want to go too deep with the quarterbacks, because my 10 quarterbacks I have, I feel any single one you choose, you can win a championship with them. And honestly, this guy, you probably can too, because he's all about the rings. He's got 7 of them. It's Tom Brady. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be like, how did you not put him into your list? Listen. Here's some things with that. This top 10 fantasy quarterbacks and top 10 quarterbacks in the leagues are 2 different things. Now, if it was, let's say, 2015 range, yes, he would be in there. But last year, let's face it, he wasn't that great of a fantasy quarterback. He would put up games where it was like 5, 9, 8, 10. And that's not a thing that'll have you as a championship fantasy football team. Now, yes, he did have good games, but you need a consistent basis with that. And another year older, again, I'm not saying Tom Brady is over the hill, but I am saying as fantasy-wise, I don't see him giving you those numbers as the other team can. So that's why he's an honorable mention. You could draft him. He'll give you good weeks, but he can also give you bad weeks. You just need to watch out for that when you draft Tom Brady. All right, now let's start it. Number 10. We got Cool Joe Burrow. Now, this one, honestly, if he was healthy, you could slide him a little higher up because, let's face it, if you focus on the numbers and the fantasy numbers, what he did last year, he was up and coming. He was rising. He was slinging that football. He threw a lot. And the only thing that has me iffy and why I have him as number 10, and a lot of people might not even have him on the list just because of his ACL injury, but that's the main concern. But if he's healthy, if he's the same Joe Burrow we seen last year, man, he's going to be throwing that thing. Like, Cincinnati, all they knew how to do with him was throw the football. He's had a lot of 300-yard-plus games. He throws for a lot of touchdowns. And he's got Jamar Chase with him now. So you got Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon. Cincinnati Bengals offense is going to look great, and I think Joe Burrow will be a top 10 quarterback for fantasy purpose wise, and I think you can win a championship with him in your fantasy leagues. Number 9, we got Mr. Tannehill, Ryan himself. Now, if this was like, 3 years ago, this would surprise a lot of people because no one would ever expect him to be a great quarterback, let alone a good fantasy quarterback, let alone leading the Tennessee Titans to the playoffs, let alone keeping them in Super Bowl contention. But here we are. He has changed himself with Tennessee, and he's got weapons. He's got A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, and he's got that running asset. And I'm not talking about Derrick Henry. He can give you that mobility-wise, and of course, that helps a lot with fantasy because you get a point for every 10 yards. So if you have a mobile quarterback, the rushing helps a lot. So you have to sneak him in the top 10. That's why I have him at number 9. A lot of people may have him off as well, but I think, again, like I said, every quarterback on here, I feel you can win a championship, and I think you can with him too. I think he can average plus 15 every game for you guys, and I think it's a solid sneaky pick. Definitely if you slide him in later rounds and you have a solid lineup and he's your first quarterback, you can really win championship. Like if you have 2 solid running backs, receiver and tight end, you could have a sneaky team and Ryan Tannehill be your quarterback and you could take it all with that. Now, here's where it's going to get tricky. You could literally, I want to say probably from 4 to 8, rearrange these in any way you want. But here's how I lined it up. And I'm going to go even further than that. I'm going to say 2 to 8. You can line them up any way you want because I think all these guys are so close together and they're all very talented. They all can give you points. But at number 8, probably will surprise people, just like I said, for the mobility part. But I'm going to have Kyler Murray at number 8. Now, I do feel like he can do better than that, but right now I got to put him at number 8 just because I like the potential in everyone else ahead of him. And like I said, he's got the weapons. I love that he has A.J. Green on the other side. Gives him another option besides DeAndre Hopkins. Of course, the mobility-wise. I just got to see him prove it. I took my chance on him last year being my starting quarterback, and there was nothing wrong with it, but he had a lot of inconsistency, which I thought he was to be more solid. And when I draft a quarterback, let's say 4 to 5 range, I want 20 points every game. And he had a lot where it was 10. Now, he did give me some where it was 30 to 35. But I needed a more consistency with him, and I hope he proves that more throughout the year. And I feel like the people I have ahead of him will. But right now, I have to have Kyler Murray slotted at 8. At number 7, this is a risky one. Again, this could be like a Desean Watson one where people will avoid until they see how clear it's off. But I had to put him on there because he can do this, and it's going to be Dak Prescott. If he is 100% fully healthy, there's no denying he's a top 5 fantasy quarterback. The weapons he has, we've seen what he does. He can score 25 points every game in fantasy. So watch out for that. If he's healthy, I think he's a surefire. Of course, the injury is 100% something to watch out for, but the weapons he has, the running game he has behind him, I'm not going to say mobility-wise because he does, but not like these other quarterbacks. But he knows how to throw the football around. He puts up the yards. He gives you the touchdowns. If we get the old Dak Prescott, this is without a question the easiest pick. But right now, it's not. But I'm going to bank on it that he's going to be a top 10 quarterback this year. And I really believe that if you have him, he could be a part of a lot of championship lineups moving forward. Now, this one probably going to hurt a lot of people in the soul. Probably question a lot of people about me, wondering why I'm creating a list. But the list gets more interesting after this one. But I had to put him at number 6 just because I don't feel like he will be a top fantasy quarterback. Remember what this video is about. Fantasy football. Number 6 belongs to Aaron Rodgers. Yes. A lot of people going to think that's really low. That doesn't equate to what I think he can be outside of fantasy. Let's get that straight. A lot of people that are new to fantasy football, fantasy and real football aren't the real things. He could still be an MVP. Let's get that real. But right now, fantasy purposes, I got 5 more quarterbacks that are better than him in my mind. He could throw the ball around. Mobility, it's there. But the thing that concerns me a lot with it is, who else does he really have? Yes, he got Randall Cobb, but let's be real. That's just a buddy-buddy relationship. Do I think Randall Cobb's going to come in and put up 800-plus yards and 7 touchdowns? No. So you really just got Devontae Adams, and yes, he's going to be a stud. He'll be one, if not one of the best wide receivers taken in fantasy football. But right now, who else does he have? And yes, Aaron Rodgers was great in fantasy last year, but doesn't mean it will translate to this year. And right now, I just don't think that's a good thing. But again, number 6 is not a bad ranking as well. I just don't think it'll be 1 or 2. And that's where I'm going to stand with Aaron Rodgers. Number 5. And again, a lot of people are going to think I'm crazy with this one. And honestly, this was kind of hard to put him here too because he gives you every aspect you need. But the one he doesn't give you a lot is the throwing game. But he gets the touchdowns and he gets you rushing yards. So I can see how a lot of people are ranked higher. But right now, I have Lamar Jackson ranked number 5. And that's just because, again, the quarterbacks ahead of him I have on this list, I just couldn't find to put him ahead of either of the 4. So, yes, he gives you that dynamic ability with the running game, which, yes, he will give you more, probably 30 games than any other quarterback. But at the end of the day, I do think he will give you those games. If he stopped in the running game, that means Ravens are struggling, which means he could give you between a 10 to 13 point fantasy game, and you could struggle. And that's an aspect you got to look out for when you're drafting him. Now, more than not, he will be really good on the field, but you got to watch out for those harder games when he can't run the football and it's just strictly throwing, because when it is, look at it when it's just strictly throwing. They're usually losing, and he's usually throwing for less than 200 yards and less than 2 touchdowns. So you got to watch out for that, because that equates to 12 fantasy points, and that's not going to help you whatsoever. Now, again, running, yeah, he's amazing. He can get you 25, 30 fantasy points, but you got to focus on all aspects here, and that's why I have him on number 5. At number 4, it's easy. It's a no-brainer to me. It's Russell Wilson. Like, he gives you everything you want in a quarterback. A lot of you could have him ranked higher, and honestly, a lot of you will if you see the beginning of my list. I know you're probably adding up like, hold up, who's that one quarterback in there in the top 3? Like, he's got a lot of people push back. Wait and see. It'll surprise and shock a lot of you. But Russell Wilson, he throws it, he runs it, he has the most prettiest deep ball I've ever seen, and he does give you the points. He's one of the safest quarterbacks you can draft. I think you can get him around round 6. I think he'll give you 18 plus fantasy points every game. Like, he doesn't struggle that much, and that's solid. That's a lot of fantasy championship quarterbacks you need. So Russell Wilson at 4 would be a really good value. Number 3, that'll be my boy. Nah, I'm just playing. But it will be Josh Allen in Buffalo. Honestly, fantasy-wise, he's perfect. Real football, he's really great. Like, he's a great quarterback to have in your league. Let's just be real. I think he will average 20-plus every fantasy football game. He gives you that running aspect as well. He's got all the weapons you need. The only thing that concerns me with him is the city, but also he's proven when it comes November and December, he's still slinging that ball. He's throwing it around. And Buffalo doesn't have really that too strong of a running game, but they do have Zach Moss and Devin Singletary, but I just don't see him focusing on that too much, because even in those times, he'll give you the rushing yards as well. He's the perfect duo when it comes to those late season. And if you can get him in the 5th round, which I don't think that'll happen, but if you can, that's an absolute steal. Josh Allen at number 3 in my fantasy rankings for this year. Y'all ready for it? Y'all ready for the shocker? I know y'all ready for it, because y'all went through the list. It don't make sense. I get it. But at number 2, I got Justin Herbert. Let's pause it. Give you time to think about it. Y'all had enough time? Yeah? Okay. Come back to this video at the end of the year, beginning of January. I will book that he will be a top 3 fantasy quarterback. He is great. Honestly, I think he could be in the MVP running. Like, it shouldn't shock a lot of people. He throws the ball a lot. He's mobile. Look at the yards he put up last year, and he was just thrown into the system. I think the yards will go up. The touchdowns will go up. I think he will be amazing year 2. I don't think he'll have a sophomore slump. That kind of bothers me a lot because, of course, he's in the same division as my team, and I don't want to have another hard way to get to the playoffs. But then again, give us the challenge. Give us more excitement. But Justin Herbert will surprise a lot of people this year. I do believe a lot of people will have him in the top 10. I don't believe they'll have him as high as me. But guess what? I'm trying to predict the future, and right now, at the end of the year, we always have that surprising quarterback. Justin Herbert will be a top 3 quarterback. Book it. Watch this again. I will retract this myself at the end of this December. Watch. Top 2. Do I really got to go number 1? We could cut the video right here. We know who I'm going to talk about, so do I really got to do it? Come on. Really? Y'all know who it is. It's Mr. Showtime Mahomes. Come on. It's obvious. It's the clear-cut number one choice. He going to be your MVP favorite regardless of anything, even if he don't win it. Aaron Rodgers won it last year. He was still your MVP favorite. Honestly, Aaron Rodgers was the way better quarterback last year, and he was still in contention. Mahomes is always going to be your number one unless something drastic happens. He puts up your yards. He gives you the touchdown. He keeps you in every game, which means you have a possibility at more points. He's clear cut. Fantasy football wise, MVP wise, regular football wise, anything. Like, if you have the option and you choose your quarterback first and you go other ways, I mean, it could be a sneaky pick. But you're setting someone else up to have the better quarterback, and don't make that mistake. I get it. People want to see his downfall. People will say he's going to have that soft slump year. What if that was this year? Last year compared to every other year. Like the other years he had, 40, 50 touchdowns, and this year he had 32. If that's his soft year and he comes back with another 40, 50, don't disrespect him. He's your number one. Don't overthink it. Nothing's too hard about it. And before I close out this video, yes, Raider fans, Derek Carr didn't make my top 10 quarterbacks. He probably won't even make my top 32 quarterbacks. If we want to have a bottom 50 quarterbacks, we could talk about that later. But that's for a personal discussion between the Raiders and Vegas. But right now, I got a video to close out. So how will I do that? I will tell y'all to subscribe. Please do that. Also, follow us on Twitter. The underscore will be at Hydrate702. I am live. I am active. I keep you up to date on all the NFL latest news and rumors. Follow us on Facebook. That'll be the same as well. It'll keep you up to date on every video that drops. You won't miss out on a thing. And if you do, you might as well hit that bell. Notify me. Let us know everything that's good that's going on. And oh yeah, you like this top 10 list? Or did you? Let me know in the comments down below. Let me know who your top 10 quarterbacks are, and let's see if we can relate. Maybe you think I'm crazy. Maybe I think you're crazy. And with that being said, take care, you guys. Peace. Peace.